When I was a brand new Christian coming out of a cult at 24 years old, I visited an AME church in Columbia, South Carolina. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm white. And I did not know that AME stood for African Methodist Episcopal. Okay? African Methodist Episcopal. I just knew it was a church nearby, and I was smarting from the legalism of the cult, so I went to their church. Guys, I'm very ashamed to say this. I'm ashamed of myself. Even though this is 26 years ago, I felt out of place. The only other man of my particular skin persuasion was another white guy married to a black lady. Those people. Those wonderful people accepted me, a white boy. And a white boy with a mullet, no less. Looked like a shorter, too skinny version of Billy Ray Cyrus that had just tripped and fell into something. As one of their own. They love-bombed me. In fact, there was like a short line to come up and hug me. I was clearly a guest. This was in South Carolina, the first state to secede from the Union when Lincoln won the 1860 election because the South Carolina government thought Lincoln would eliminate slavery in the U.S. Oh, that was then, this is now. Well, here's the thing. I understand that a lot of people cry wolf when it comes to racism. There are sometimes, I've been called a racist, I'm nowhere near a racist. Okay, I have been called a racist for some strange reasons that have nothing to do with racism. And yet somebody decided to call me a racist. Okay, so there are a lot of people crying wolf when it comes to racism. But I'm going to tell you something. There are still places in the United States where you find racism. Not everyone who calls racism or racist is crying wolf. Sometimes there are legitimate cases of people being racist. And in South Carolina, there is still a lot of racism in certain places. Okay, in fact, in a recent trip to South Carolina to visit family a few years ago, this particular incident happened. I saw a black man that looked like he was thirsty. And I said, "Hey, my brother, are you thirsty? Will you let me buy you a Gatorade?" I was promptly warned about referring to a black man as brother in rural South Carolina. Even though I didn't mean it in any way, shape, form, or fashion as racist. I was simply buying a thirsty man a drink. Because he was clearly hot, he was clearly thirsty, he was in the sun waiting on a bus that could show up at any time, and I have the habit of calling people brother. I wasn't even thinking. I didn't consider that there was going to be an issue. So, there in South Carolina on this other day, when I stepped into that African Methodist Episcopal church, those people hugged me. And I mean, they hugged me well enough to give my back an adjustment better than any chiropractor. They love-bombed me. They loved on me. They told me, "Thank you for coming." They told me I was going to enjoy the message. They told me they look forward to singing with me and worshiping with me. They said, "Please come back." There was a lady there who offered me to come over to their house for lunch. I didn't drive, so I politely declined because I couldn't drive and I didn't want to impose on them also driving me over there and having to drive me back. Those of you that know me know I'm just blind enough to not be able to drive. But all of this love for a white boy walking into an all-black church, that, ladies and gentlemen, is a model that we all need to emulate.